Bon dia, Vacordia. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Fireside Chat with Eimear. This is Fireside Chat 149, brought to you by the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. And as is customary, I begin with a prayer for peace. Gomara Siocán ar fud na crinne. Gomara Siocán in our Jaili agus in our Jira. Gonairi Lin Lena ar Cuid Garmacha. Gamij Buikas Jeev Je Chudaka, a spirit Chudaka. May peace prevail on earth. May peace prevail in our homes and in our countries. May our missions be accomplished. We thank you, guardian spirits and guardian deities, for peace. As the fever of day calms towards twilight, may all that is strained in us come to ease. We pray for all who suffered violence today. May an unexpected serenity surprise them. For those who risk their lives each day for peace, may their hearts glimpse providence at the heart of history. That those who make riches from violence and war might hear in their dreams the cries of the lost. That we might see through our fear of each other a new vision to heal our fatal attraction to aggression. That those who enjoy the privilege of peace might not forget their tormented brothers and sisters. That the wolf might lie down with the lamb, that our swords be beaten into plowshares, and no hurt or harm be done anywhere along the Holy Mountain, with thanks to John O'Donoghue. You may have guessed now that this is a recording of this week's Fireside Chat, as I am in Glastonbury celebrating the 60th anniversary of the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. So I'm going to tell a story, but first, change. There is a phrase, and it's in Irish and in English. They say, "An tain torshach sa sail, no, apru." The only real constant in life is change. And many of us respond in different ways to change, some with enthusiasm and excitement about what the change might bring. Others are more reserved, maybe more resistant, more apprehensive of what change brings. Some learn to surrender to change. I'm going to tell you a story. This is a universal story. Some say it's as old as Solomon himself, and this is my version. Iwad is Iwad sa Chanamshire, fado in Aaron, vi buchalog darabanam kian, agus ag tashel, harna chira ag lorag agna agus brina baha. Long ago in Ireland, there was a young boy called Cian who travelled throughout the land of Ireland in search of wisdom and the meaning of life. And one day, his travels brought him to a small village, Ilor and Fertig, in the middle of the bog. And he met an old man, and he asked him where he might find food and lodgings for the night. The old man welcomed him and said, "We're a small village, and we don't get many visitors here. But there's always Aoife, whose teach mór, her mansion is at the end of the village. She's a kindly woman, and she will provide you with food and lodgings." So thanking the old man, Cian headed off towards the teach mór of Aoife, and he knocked on the door, and she opened. As fuair sé, fáilte mór ó Aoife, a bhí in a ban cinálta. He received a great welcome from Aoife, a kindly woman. Agus fuair sé nua gach bí is sean gach dí, the rare nósanna na flaholtacha ag an am sin, and he received the freshest of food and the oldest of drink in keeping with the ways of hospitality in those times. And Dairi Lo, Gahanwa Lakela, they got on very, very well. And after a time, the sad day came when Cian must say goodbye to this kindly woman who had become his friend. And he said to her, "Nach iontach an bhanú. Tá chudaní atá agata tiltte go maithagad. You're an amazing woman and you deserve everything you have. Mar fragra dabrish an bhan basa an nasha a chufni seo a wakin. Níl tile dá bhéin nach drán. Níl tuile dá bhéad nach drán. By way of an answer, the wise Aoife replied to him, remember, níl tuile dá bhéad nach drán, which literally means there is no flood that does not recede. In other words, this too shall pass. Now, perplexed by these words, he bade Aoife goodbye and went off on his travels again. And a few years went by, and he was a young man, grown up but still in search of wisdom and the meaning of life, and his travels brought him back once more to that village, Eimear and Fertig, in the middle of the bog. And he sought out Aoife because he had remembered her kindness to him those years before. But he couldn't find her house. And he met a young boy along the way who told him, Aoife now lives in the house of the Taoiseach, the chief. She works there now. And he gave Cian the directions to the house. So when Cian arrived at the house of the Taoiseach, he knocked on the door. And to his horror, who answered the door? Only Aoife. But this time, dressed in rags. And she bade him great welcome, invited him inside, and explained to him that she had lost her mansion, her big house, when a flash flood came, leaving her homeless overnight, and that she now lived in the house of the Taoiseach, and she worked for him as his servant. And despite her hardened circumstances, Aoife never lost her kindness, her hospitality, her wisdom. And Cian received the same hospitality and kindness that he had received from her all those years ago. And he helped her with her chores about the house. And then the time came for Cian to leave once more and continue on his travels. And he was very saddened to see Aoife living in these circumstances. And he said, Níl sé seo ceart. Stú an ban is cinálta sa domhan. This is not fair. You are the kindest woman in the whole world. And she said, Cuimhníor seo hawak, níl tuile dá bhéad nach drán. Remember this, lad, this too shall pass. So he was still perplexed and none the wiser as to the meaning of her words, but he continued on his travels nonetheless. And years went by, and now Cian was a mature man, he was a wealthy man, but he had never forgotten Aoife all through the years and her kindness to him. And he decided to visit her once more. But before that, he got a gold ring made for her with rubies in it, and he set off on his travels. And he arrived once more in that small village, Eimear and Fertig, in the middle of the bog. And then he discovered that Aoife had passed away. And he was heartbroken that he hadn't visited her sooner. Anyway, he visited her grave, and what was on the headstone only written, Níl tuile dá bhéad nach drán. This too shall pass. And when he read that, he vowed that he would return every year to Aoife's graveside to remember her and pay respects to her. And that is what he did. Year after year after year, he would visit her graveside, until one year he arrived to discover the grave was gone. It had been washed away by a flash flood. He was devastated. And looking up to the sky in anguish, he said, Níl tuile dá bhéad nach drán. This too shall pass. So he went back to his home, and the years passed by again. And now Cian, an old man, a wise man whose wisdom, whose reputation as a wise man spread far and wide, and he was too old now to travel, so people came to visit him. One day he received a letter from the Druid of the Ordri, the High King, and in the letter it said, the Ordri recently lost his wife and young child in childbirth, and he is devastated and heartbroken and grief-stricken, and he hasn't smiled in months. Agus tá achanaí fáinne all le frása a churann brown fear sanna agus áthas fear bránach an bhfuil tú cabhrú leis. The High King is looking for a ring with the phrase engraved on it that can make a happy man sad and a sad man happy. Can you help him? And Cian remembered the golden ring with the rubies that he'd had made for Aoife all those years ago, but had never been able to give to her. So he placed it in a package and sent it to the Ardrí. And when the Ardrí opened the package and picked up the ring and read the phrase engraved inside it, Níl tuile dá bhéid nach trán, tears of sadness and joy flowed down his cheeks. Níl tuile dá bhéid nach trán, this too shall pass. So I hope you've enjoyed my story. And remember, is é an tain tóirseach sa saol ná arú. The only real constant in life is change. So I bid you all goodbye until we meet again for another Fireside Chat in the near future. So be well. Slán go fóill.